Welcome to the Created Worthy podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Damrell, and I am so grateful that you're here. On this show, I talk about creative processing and how to utilize it as a skill to bring peace, joy, and freedom into our chaotic lives. I also sit down with the most incredible guests as they share their stories, many of which for the very first time. We are all created worthy. So before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that today's episode is a little bit different again because I'm actually sharing a training I did for a masterclass / workshop from earlier this year. First, you'll be hearing from Dr. Christine Mnookin, who is introducing me. And by the way, if you are interested in hearing her story, you can find it on episode 2 of this podcast, the Created Worthy podcast. But once she introduces me, I will dive into the subject of how to create meaningful work. I will warn you, the audio got a little messed up and there's no way to fix it. Trust me, we tried. So it's definitely not as clear as most episodes, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoy this episode and thanks again for being here.
Ms. Danielle, she's a creative director inside our academy. She's a publication writer, editor for the Functional Medicine Business Academy. And Danielle is highly recognized lettering artist whose custom gifts have been seen over 171 million times. You guys, it's not an error. 171 million times. Her work has been featured in places all over the world, and she's now the host of Created Worthy podcast. We'll make sure we'll have her drop the link in our chat as well, so you guys can go listen to her story, okay? Danielle has been on a journey of uncovering her creative zone of expertise since 2017, when she founded the Danielle Damrell Creative Collective. Her creative collective is continuously expanding collection of creative services, motivation, products, playlists, resources that aim to spread the vulnerability and encouragement and truth about the healing power of creating processing. And Danielle is now empowering and inspiring those to step into the life of freedom and healing that we are all worthy of living. As an expert in creative processing, she is often found mentoring and teaching others how to channel both the joys and the chaos of entrepreneurship into creative, meaningful work through focusing on intention. So, ladies and gentlemen, get all your attention, grab your notebooks, take massive notes. And Miss Danielle, thank you for blessing us today with your knowledge and skills. And I'm just going to be quiet and take you to take the front stage. Thank you, my love.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. It is an honor to be here with you guys today, and I am so excited to have this opportunity to share a bit about my story and how to create meaningful work. I have decided to intertwine my story into the training, so you'll be hearing pieces of it throughout the course of tonight. So as Dr. Christine mentioned, I am Danielle Damrell, and I'm the creative director of the Functional Medicine Business Academy. To give you a little bit of background on me, I didn't start in the entrepreneurial world as a creative director, of course. However, I did start my journey as an artist. Art has always served as a natural outlet for me and a way that I could remind myself that I was more than just what I've been through. Statistically speaking, I should not be successful. I should not be here with you today teaching about anything. But as I've learned, through so many incredible therapists, mentors, coaches, we do not should all over ourselves. In other words, we do not let the shoulda, coulda, wouldas hold us back from reaching our full potential. As for how this has shown up in my life personally, I grew up in a pretty unstable household and went through quite a few traumatic experiences that should have become a central part of my identity. But instead, I made the decision to use my story to help shape my identity and my career into something so much more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. In 2017, after a series of failed attempts to work in the corporate world, I launched my own creative business, starting out doing custom art pieces, and I actually did specialize in lettering. And at that same time, I was finishing my bachelor's degree in communication, focused in public speaking, because I've always felt on a deep level I've always felt called towards public leadership in some capacity. Both my art and my love for connection have continued to fuel my passion to serve and inspire others through my work. Over the last almost 4.5 years, I've tried lots of different things, including selling on my Etsy, offering lettering services for weddings and companies like the Denver Zoo, teaching creative workshops, and seriously have tried pretty much anything you could think of in the creative realm, honestly. Most of the gifts I've created are encouraging words and affirmations, all based on revelations I've experienced over the course of my own healing journey. I do have some that are with brands, like we have some for the FMBA, some other brands as well. But for the most part, my custom gifts are all encouragement. To be perfectly honest, though, some things were successful, but impossible to balance with my current life circumstances. Other things were flat out falls. Not failures, falls. I had to learn how to get back up, straighten my crown, and walk forward into the next thing. That's the thing about entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't talk about. It is truly such an important part of owning a business, though. As an entrepreneur, you become an expert problem solver. Every day, unexpected things happen that can either set you back or they can be a learning opportunity. For example, from all the things I've tried, I fell into the realization that creative processing is one of my most powerful zones of genius. Only through navigating many mountains and valleys have I realized the need for this concept to be shared publicly. I've learned that it's a skill that not only I needed to experience and develop, but other people did as well. And I haven't met a single person who wouldn't benefit from intentional creative processing. I talk more about this in the Academy and on my social media and in my podcast if you want to learn more. At each step along the way, though, I've worked hard to prioritize my mental health and stability by fostering my faith, staying in therapy, creating intentional space to create for myself and those who are in my close circle, not just for work, and also making time to connect with those I feel called to encourage. I have a little internal goal each day when I'm scrolling on social media that I will comment on at least 10 different posts and or send a DM as like a reaction to someone's story, and not just comment like a couple of emojis, but at least 4 words. And for me, I usually end up writing a paragraph because I'm obviously long-winded. Why do I do this though? Because I know that if I have time to be scrolling, then I have time to encourage others. My faith is a huge aspect of my life. And I believe there are miracles happening all around us every single day. Here's the thing though, until we open our eyes enough to really look around and see them, we are gonna miss them. We're gonna see the hard and ugly all around us. And if that's what especially if that's what we're focusing on. But this is actually the first step in creating meaningful work. So step 1 of creating meaningful work is to look for the miracles all around you, your past, present, and future. What things in your life couldn't have happened if the puzzle pieces didn't fit perfectly together? Just like Christine was saying, our paths had to align perfectly for this opportunity to have been created for you and for me and for her. For example, buckle up. This is the heavy part of my story. In late 2020, my family and I were presented with a unique opportunity to go on the Dr. Phil show and talk about some deep-rooted trauma for the very first time. Was it ideal to go on national television and talk about some of my most painful memories from childhood? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But this was the very first and only opportunity to try to make amends with my mom in an intentional space with a moderator. And she was willing to go. It was a miracle that we were chosen, and I knew God had to have had a plan. He doesn't call us into things that we're not ready for, no matter how uncomfortable or confusing those things may be. The miracle doesn't stop there. Right after the show, I was presented with an opportunity to apply for a scholarship to be a part of a group coaching program for business owners like myself, which was the same group coaching program that Christine was a part of. And in my scholarship application, I wrote out a small portion of my story, including the fact that I had just recently been on the Dr. Phil show. I hadn't been public. Still to this day, I've never watched the episode. I just felt called to share that part of my story in that situation where I was writing it and applying for that scholarship. So it ended, the scholarship application, like it was a written application. It ended with something like, I've just learned that the chaos of life will likely never let up. And it's up to me to figure out how to find joy in the midst of chaos. Long story long, I got the scholarship, and that led me to starting a podcast. As Christine mentioned, my podcast is called Created Worthy, and it's focused on teaching people the skill of creative processing and helping people of all backgrounds and experiences to have a place to come and just share their life stories, many of which for the very first time. I always feel honored. Anytime a guest joins me, I'm like, wow, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your story. And I always tell people when they are interested in being a guest, make sure that you are ready to share your story. Because when you're ready, I'll be here. And that's been just such an awesome part of Created Worthy. I believe our stories serve as an important reminder of our inherent worthiness that already lives within us. We really are created worthy. That scholarship also opened doors for me to strengthen my basic business skills and fine tune them. And in March 2021, I met Dr. Christine, and I started working with her on various projects throughout the year. She told you about them. And as of late 2021, in December, I joined the team full time and became the creative director of this academy. Again, it's nothing short of a miracle that I now get to serve doctors and clinicians and walk with them as they learn how to build their own businesses to help people find real healing. And in the next 2 months, I will have the honor of joining many of these amazing clinicians as we are writing the second book of the Storybook series. And make sure to stay tuned on Christine and I's social media to watch the process of 15 of us becoming published authors. And finally, the weird and hard experience on the Dr. Phil show led me to being here today with you. I'm speaking. And this is the fulfillment of many years of praying and hoping that one day the seed I began sowing so many years back would actually pay off. And it has. And that's a miracle. So the next part, step 2 of creating meaningful work, is to set boundaries with yourself, with your family and your friends, and with your clients. With yourself, how you begin to start setting boundaries with yourself is by prioritizing those things that fill up your cup. I know it sounds like super cliche, and yes, I'm talking about self-care, but for many of us, it's way more than that. For me, it looks like having a job that allows me to go to 3 appointments every week: my personal therapy, my physical therapy, and my Bible study. When I don't have these things, I feel myself starting to slip and very easily start to become irritable, have a lot of anxiety, and am not productive. Other ideas, though, for you may be meditation, alone time, writing in a journal or planner every day, or whatever else you need to make sure that you are not running on empty. When we lack boundaries with ourselves, it's only natural that we would struggle to have healthy boundaries with others. And that leads to having boundaries with your family and friends. If you are a super social person like I am, it can be so hard to say no, especially to the people that we love the most. Setting boundaries is necessary, though. And as you venture into the world of entrepreneurship, especially if you have another job already, you're going to need to set some boundaries with those you love the most. Start by talking to your husband, wife, best friend about what you need in order to make this pivot. Once you've had those conversations, get used to saying things like, can we have coffee in a few weeks instead of days? Or maybe you say something like, as much as I love doing all of the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry, I really need your help in this season with taking on more of the housework. Or we need to hire a cleaner, which I'm currently trying to convince my husband to do. We don't need to overcomplicate setting boundaries, though. For now, just focus on simple ways to create space and time in your life to pursue your passion. You may be surprised how many people in your life are already there and ready to cheer you on. But first, They need to know what you're doing. So you need to talk about it. The third way to start setting boundaries is with your clients. Once you begin seeing clients, you'll quickly start to realize that they will take as much as you're willing to give. That's exactly why clients need to know from the very beginning what you're offering them. They need to know how much time you plan to spend with them individually, and make sure to hold yourself accountable for that amount of time, especially if they're expecting one certain thing. It's not that anyone's trying to take advantage of you, but when your work aligns with your passions, it's really easy to get caught up in the moment and realize that you've invested way more time and energy than what they've paid you for. And that's really a big part of charging your worth. This is a slippery slope that we all get caught up on, though, once in a while. So if you do it, it's fine. Let it go and make a note for yourself next time to help avoid that. Clients also need to know how much you're doing for them outside of just your meetings with them. Does your offering include talking with them on social media? How about over email? For example, let's say you tell them they can email you anytime with your questions. You also need to let them know that you typically reply back within 24 to 48 hours. If it's shorter, that's great, but at least they know what to expect and their expectations aren't higher. Also, let them know what you're doing on the back end. Are you reviewing their tests and generating some kind of report? Great. That's great. Tell them that. Tell them how long it will take before you get that report back to them. From personal experience, it's best to be generous with yourself as far as timelines go. It will take some time to learn systems, and you don't want to forget all about your prior responsibilities as well. When this gets off balance in your life, this leads to those feelings of burnout and overwhelm, which will not help you be successful in creating meaningful work. So the final step to creating meaningful work is to determine what balance looks like for you. Look, I know there's a lot of stigma surrounding the concept of balance, but here's what I believe is possible when it comes to this subject. Balance looks different for every single person. Balance looks different in every single season of life as well. I struggle with this every day. And I know that this is an area that I'll constantly be working to navigate for the goodness of my health, my family, my business, my friends, everything. In some seasons, we need to focus more on personal healing. In others, we need to focus more on raising small children or working on our business. No one but you and God can determine what balance needs to look like in order for you to be walking in your calling or fullest potential. Balance is not a myth, but it is really, really hard. And you're likely never going to be perfect at it. That's okay though. Be kind to yourself and remember that there are 2 other steps you can lean back on if you're starting to question how meaningful your work is. I think that if you're working on the other 2 parts that I mentioned earlier, balance becomes a little more easier and more achievable. So thank you for listening to me today. And I would love to read what, if anything, resonated with you most. Make sure to let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to connect with me more or would like to learn more about creative processing, we'll make sure to put my IG page in the comments and I'd love to connect. One last shameless plug. If you're a podcast listener, please make sure to check out my podcast and my website where I have an ever-changing variety of conversations, creative processing resources, and products, obviously only on my website, that all aim to spread love, hope, and vulnerable encouragement. And that's it from me.
Oh my gosh, Danielle, it just, wow. Like seriously, wow. And the skills that you're teaching us today, you guys, these are skills you'll take it for the rest of your life. I hope you're taking notes. If you want to catch this on a replay, you better do that, because let me tell you, Danielle is speaking not only from experience, but she also understands what's possible when you overcome those barriers, when you're on this side, but also telling you all that it's not you just achieve this once and you stop. No. You got to keep going. You got to keep evolving. So yes, talking about balance, what balance looked like to me a year ago is very different than what Dallas looks like to me right now. And I'm very publicly sharing with everyone, I did not have no boundaries, especially when I was just getting started. I share with all of you, I will take phone calls any day of the time, interrupting my family time and dinner time to take calls because I was like, oh my gosh, they finally got, on the call with me. I'm going to talk to them. I had no boundaries. I had no self-care. I'll be honest with you. I had no self-care because I was putting everyone else's dreams and desires and their agenda in front of me before I could even take that first step of saying like, no, how about me? Like, who the heck is going to pour my own cup, right? So thank you, Danielle, for your wisdom, my love. I'm forever grateful for you to come. And yeah, like if you did not apply for that scholarship, you would not have been inside, the group coaching group that I was also part of and hearing me to speak during a summit. Again, things come in the right time when you need it the most. I needed you the most at that time. And this has been one of the most beautiful things of the organic growth that we like to talk about. So, and yes, please everyone go show her some love. Like, by the way, just a little fun thing. So Savannah and Danielle have this like a competition or agreement. They're going to post reels every single day. So we're all betting who's going to like break that cycle. So I need to check to see. Oh, Danielle, she already broke it. Oh my gosh.
No, I haven't broke it yet.
Oh, you have not. Okay.
Savannah put a poll on her story and her followers said that I will break first. And I think that's probably realistic, but because of that, I'm not going to break.
Yay! There you go, Savannah. You got somebody taking the challenge. But this is the cute competitive thing that we bring it in to keep each other accountable. Okay. Again, there's always a story why we do certain things. It's not just like, oh my gosh, I gotta post on social media every single day. No, it's more of getting into the habit of doing things till it becomes like part of your life. Like you wake up every single morning, you go brush your teeth. You're not thinking like, should I brush my teeth today? What kind of brush am I going to use? Should it be 2 minutes or like a minute and 20 seconds? You don't think you're doing this. It's part of your daily routine. And the skills that we teach inside the academy, taking that one step at a time, that becomes part of your daily routine. And when you figure that out, how you're going to spend that 1 hour a day on that executing things that you're, like you say, it's part of my routine. It's going to make so much sense versus trying to be all over the place, trying to figure things out, or just giving up too soon because it did not work. Instead of waiting to like, you know what, if let me continue doing this for a little bit longer with the guidance and strategy, it would work. Okay. So again, things that we taught today is just not just like some woo-woo shit that we talk about. There is a real meaning behind why we teach certain things. And again, it all goes back to creating those habits in your daily life that you don't even have to overthink it. And let me tell you, when you're doing something that you actually enjoy, like Daniel was talking about, find joy in every chaos, you don't complain about like working on your beautiful content that the world is going to see you as an expert in this space. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky I get to do this.
Thank you so much for listening to the Created Worthy podcast. If you want to connect more, you can follow along with me over at Danielle Damrell or Damrell Creative Co. on Instagram and Facebook. All the links to today's topics are in the show notes, and you can also find a link to my Patreon, which is where you can help support my mission on this show and keep it going. Ratings and reviews really do matter, so make sure to hook me up with 5-star review. Any less, I would rather hear your opinions over email. So anyway, if this episode resonated with you at all, share the love, send it to a friend, or post it on your social media. But don't forget to tag me so I see it and can share it too. I hope all of you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you on the flip side.